All right. My name is Justin. I'm one of the owners of Complete Barndo Solutions. And today we have Larry. Larry is one of our senior project managers. He's the guy that will be responsible for taking your build from a pile of dirt to a completed home with keys in hand. So, what we want to do today is just ask him questions about how that looks and what you can expect on your build. So, first off, Larry, I'll let you introduce yourself and maybe cover a little bit of your experience, and we'll go from there.
Larry Renfro, been building homes and buildings and barns for about 28, 29 years now. Looking forward to working with you guys in the near future.
Sounds good. Right on. Now, we are a turnkey builder, and so can you help customers understand by what we mean by turnkey?
Turnkey pretty much means I'm going to take your set of plans and your home and I'm going to make it into a reality. We're going to work together every step of the way, of course, but little by little, you'll see it go from like he said, a pile of dirt to moving into your brand new home to raise your family.
So when I say dirt to done, I'm pretty accurate on that.
100%.
Right on. And we always start our customers from scratch. And our one of our big tenets is that we start with a floor plan that works. How important is that detailed floor plan for your side of things when you're actually building the home?
It takes it and makes it 100% easier for not so much myself, but for the homeowner themselves to be able to see the home and have a good feel for it. Then once we go into the field with it, every one of our trades and trade partners that we work with, they know and understand what the homeowner is looking for as far as measurements, dimensions, color selections, and so forth.
So it saves them headache and money, you'd say.
A lot of time, a lot of headache, and a lot of money.
Right on. Now we build all over Texas, and as we know, it's a very diverse landscape. Um, is there anything specific that the location of the land, I guess, does that change how you approach the project, or is it just kind of the same every time?
No, it actually changes city to city, state, state to state, even if you want to go that far into it. The way the ground is, whether we're dealing with sand, sandy loam, black clay, that changes the way we do our foundations. With our engineer partners that we have involved with us, they tell us a lot of what we need to do, but it's my job as well to turn and tell the engineer, this is the type of ground we're dealing with. And what that does affect is how your structure of your home uh, is completed and how much material and time goes into it.
Right on. Now, sometimes we get customers that don't have land, sometimes we get customers that have land, and sometimes we get customers that are kind of in the process of already looking for land. Now, what are a couple of things that you wish every customer would consider or put kind of top of mind when they're looking at that land to make the build easier?
A little bit more than anything is the way the land is formed. You don't want a big sloping hill, and there's a lot of financing that goes into taking that hill and making it into a flat spot. Um, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of money, and a lot of work that goes into it. So if we can find, a little flatter spaces or maybe not as completely engulfed, that's a lot of the things that I look at.
Sounds good. Now, we focus a lot on, engineered steel framing. Why do we choose it more so than like a post frame build or a wood build? What would you say the advantages are for the client?
I think, well, several things is, especially here in Texas, the way we have our weather, wind, tornadoes, hurricanes, depending on where we're located at in Texas on that project, it allows us to be more structurally sound. We can tell you what the wind loads are created and how much each post can take and how much each truss can take. It really becomes intricate on my end of the deal, but it also gives the homeowner and the client a better secure feeling knowing they've been engineered to the fullest extent.
Right on. Well, you partially answered my next question, which was, how do we engineer these homes for weather? So it seems like there's a lot of consideration that goes into sometimes mandated by the county and sometimes on our end to make sure that this thing
Right.
lasts.
Yes. Yeah, we build for a lifetime, not just
Right
building
on.
for 10 years.
Building for a legacy. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the the most frequent questions I get when I'm having my first discussions with potential people is, how long does it take? And we tell them on the build side, anywhere from, 6 to 10 months. What does that journey look like from first shovel into the ground till you're handing over the keys?
Um, a lot of it again from start to finish is as a weather. We play the weather game on most of it. Also, supply chains. Sometimes it's harder to get certain types of steel than it is other times, or wood, or even your flooring. Sometimes even your countertops. Those things, it's just a time-based deal. And what we try to do is with the amount of trade partners that we have stretched out across Texas, we don't run into a lot of delays for that, but they do come. And that's probably some of the higher day ticking, I guess, is time ticking machine that causes that.
Right on. Now, there's kind of a misconception that barn dome means barn or warehouse or whatever. They've
Very
kind of
much.
come a long way in terms of, how the interiors are and the luxury of them. What are some of the coolest, in your 28 years, coolest interior customizations that you've seen people do in the builds?
Couple of them are really, really neat that I've done is your garage is actually your living room. It could be your living room if you want it to be. I've seen it where we've had garage doors fully glass where it looks out back and you can open up really the back half of your home to overlook your pool, a big lake or a pond or, the setting that you want to see the most. It gives so much flexibility with open floor plans, bigger countertops, 2 islands, 3 islands deep. If you're in really an entertaining person, you entertain a lot of people. Uh, like I said, again, the flexibility with these is endless.
Right on. So bringing the outdoors in and the indoors out and really enjoying the land that you have has been
Yes.
pretty key. Right on. Now we're an everything under one roof company. And so how does that make your job easier when we have a design team that's there and they're there and they can make changes? How does that make your job easier and kind of avoid that, finger pointing that normally happens between a builder and an architect, let's say?
Very much so. That does happen outside of this company. It's really great because I can pick up the phone and not only can I call the owner, I can call the planner, the designer, the architect, and it's just such an open phone call conversation. It's almost like being able to call your brother and ask him how he's doing today. I can do that same thing with everybody inside Complete Barndo.
Right on. And that makes it a lot less acrimonious for the client too, I presume, being able to
Correct.
get those answers like that.
Instant, almost instant.
Perfect. Now budgeting. We
Ah,
design, we build, we have an intimate relationship between the two. How does that, like, how do we help customers stay in budget using all the resources that we have? Maybe from your perspective.
Staying in budget is always critical, and it's always key. What we like to do is we set your budget up most of the time for what your lifestyle is going to entail. So yes, we can set your budget down there at the standard 170 range. But if we know your lifestyle is a little bit more luxurious, let's set your budget up there at the $225 a square foot range. And what we try to do is each line item is presented to you, whether it's your countertops or your cabinets or whatever the, line item you want to talk about. And what we do there is we take and say, here's what we have budgeted for your build. Now, if you want to, as I always like to say, if you want a Italian marble tile, absolutely, we can ship anything in from Italy for you. That's not a problem. But you're going to be over your budget. And that's an upfront conversation that we can have long before we get to the point where Italian marble tile needs to be here. We can do it in the very beginning stages and say, we have options. Here's what you're looking for. Um, that way it's not, hey, I'm fixing to order your tile tomorrow. Do you sure you want to spend the extra $1 million for your tile or whatever it is? We had that conversation 3 months ago. You already knew it. We already had the budget set in place.
So customers have a lot of control over, obviously what goes into their house and full transparency into the budget through our systems.
Absolutely.
Takes a lot of the mystery out of it, I'd say.
All open and upfront.
Right on. Now, we're obviously a lot of times building in unserviced land or raw land. Sometimes they need septic and wells and stuff like that. How do you normally coordinate that? Is that usually when you do a site visit, you kind of walk through how that's going to look and then add it to the budget? Walk me through that.
Yeah, correct. If we get out to your site, as I believe we have meetings on every site before we put the budget together, so we can look at the ground, the locations. Um, if you're living 20, 30 miles from town, you're not gonna have the luxury of having city water, city sewer. We have trade partners that do these things. Getting that set into place, we have them come out, meet with us, find the location we want to put your water well or your septic, and show them where it's at. We can get a price usually within about 5 to 7 business days, and have it already in your budget and ready for you when we present the full turnkey project.
Nice. Right on. So again, dirt to done. Super important. We take all the heavy lifting so that the client doesn't have to.
Absolutely.
Right on. Okay, home's complete. You're walking them through. You've probably done that a million times in the last 28 years. When you're taking the family through what started as, that pile of dirt, or actually started as a piece of paper, really, and
An
then we turned
idea.
it into something. What's your favorite part about that when you actually take them out there to the complete home, would you say?
Really the fun part for me, and is when the kids get to see their room. That's the fun part. Watching the excitement, or when they open up that big back door to their huge back patio. And I always like to always try to do a little something extra for my clients that, and it may be I went out and, purchased myself a swing for their back porch, if that's what fits the scenario. Or, it could be a cutting board if somebody really likes, doing stuff in the kitchen. It's those little things like that, doing those things and watching the smile happen.
Right on. Kids always getting in fights over the rooms. I have two, and every time I've moved, it's always a battle. Who gets which
Very
room?
much so.
Yeah. Another thing that kind of comes up for us in the front side of things as we're having our initial consultations is, long-term investment. Now, I understand there's usually some equity in a barndo once it's complete. How have you seen them holding their value for somebody that's, had a traditional home before, it's gone up in value, they've kind of exited their equity, stuff like that. Are barndos the same?
100%. And actually, I personally feel that they're more of a long-term investment. You don't have a whole lot of wood exposed to the elements. You're 100% metal. Uh, it withstands storms. It withstands rain, hail a lot better. I'm not saying they're 100%, indestructible, but I am saying that they're going to take a lot bigger pounding over time. And again, most people have to go and paint every 2 to 3 years their new home. We don't have to. We can go up to 10 before maybe 20. That, colored metal that we already use just doesn't fade.
So a lot less maintenance for the people that are tired of the maintenance.
Very much so.
You would not believe how many times I hear about that on our initial consultations and how important the low maintenance is. Right on. Now, your advice. You've been doing this for a long time. If someone's sitting on the fence, they've kind of thought about this, maybe they're dipping their toes in the water or they're starting to do their research and they're thinking about starting that barn dough journey. The first thing that we tell people to get started on, to get their dream going is floor plans. Would you agree that, getting your dream on paper is the best first step to make the whole process much easier?
Absolutely. And it allows you to what I call play with the program. It allows you to
Yeah.
move things around to see if you want the bigger kitchen or a bigger living room. Because once you get the base features down, you know how big, you know what your sizes are. Now, if you start moving walls and you can kind of see things happening on that paper, again, long before we ever have to worry about trying to move a wall out in the middle of the field, in the middle of the build
Which can get expensive. So getting it done on
quickly,
paper is way cheaper than getting it done
quickly.
in practical. Fair enough. All right, that's cool, man. Like one last question. This is maybe a fun one. I got two actually. Let's go with two. If you were building your own barn dough today, what's the one feature that you, Larry, would have to have?
Ooh, two options. Big, big open floor plan living room
Yep.
is be my biggest one. And then, of course, you can't ever go wrong with that big open patio
Yeah, that's
on
fair.
the
It's getting
back.
that outdoor space, indoor space kind of blending together, which tends
We,
to be very popular.
me and my family,
Andrew,
we live more outside than we do in, it
yeah,
seems like.
fair enough. I'm doing that now, not where I originally come from. In now you're working on some projects with us already. You've got some customers under your belt. How would you describe working with me, Colby, and the whole team? How would you describe that?
One word, family.
Right on.
It's just easy. It's like calling your brother. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Um, Even, all the people in the staff that I don't even know that work behind the scenes. It's so easy to get in touch with somebody to be able to communicate and find out, hey, when you were drawing this, or what was your plan when you had this idea? And we literally talk like we're sitting at a dining room table. It's easy.
I would definitely 100% agree with that. And it bleeds through into the customer service side of things. And that's why we have
Absolutely.
a bunch of happy people. Well, Larry, I know you're really busy. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. So I'm going to let you get back to it. I really appreciate you taking your time to give our client base, an insight into how it works. And I think now that you're on video, people are going to recognize you as you come in to work on their projects. But thanks for taking the time. I think it's going to help a lot of people understand how we work, and we'll talk soon.
Look forward to it.